Let's get down to brass tacks. The reason why Mexico is not as developed as the United States is because white people in Mexico held the power for 100 years. They ruled with corruption, and they saw brown Mexicans as slaves and people to be exploited and to be treated as less than human. And they have done so. And they have built armed enclaves where the white people live, and the rest of Mexico has been allowed to rot. And AMLO is about the rest of Mexico finally claiming their humanity. Now, is it a perfect leftist party that I agree with on everything? No, I think it's not. But it is about speaking to indigenous and poor Mexicans where they are and developing a Mexican national identity that actually cares about the development of all Mexicans, not just the rich whites living in gated communities. And this is a pattern that Latin America has followed. And this is how the United States has managed to control Latin America, keep it undeveloped, by addressing itself to the rich white people that continued to rule over those countries after the colonizers supposedly left. You had the Spanish Empire, and then who did they hand power to? The white Spaniards who lived in that country, and they've maintained that political system ever since. And you're finally seeing that start to break in places like Brazil, Colombia, in Mexico, and Chile. And as those non-white and poor Latin Americans rise up in political identity, rise up in political power, seize control of their democracies, they are developing at gangbusters rates. Go look at Brazil. When those indigenous and left-wing and worker parties took power, what happened to the economies of those countries? They grew exponentially. I believe that to develop into socialism, you must first develop. You're not going to go from an undeveloped territory to full communism. Communism is a higher stage of advanced industrial society. It is not a stage where you could skip over the part where you develop society's productive forces. You can't jump over that into socialism. I think if you're going to develop humanity to a higher form, it must develop to that higher form. It must develop the productive ability to provide those resources to everybody. It must have an educational system. It must have a medical system. It must have industrial policy. It must have an energy system. It must have security. It must have an actual functioning society in order to develop into something that goes beyond just pursuing profit.